Hello everyone! We're reacting with Matt here, because, I don't know, because he knows more about Reggie than I do.
Despite that, I have not actually seen this video, or if I have, it has slipped my mind. I
Really?
also do not know what Hunger and Kenshi does.
I still need to
And
play
cherry on
Kenshi.
top, I also don't know how the fuck you beat a game that has no objective.
I guess you set objectives with it, but, either way, on that note,
Objective one, die of starvation.
oh my god. Anyway, what I was about to say was, if you guys, well, I have the game Kenshi. If you guys want me to stream it over on Twitch, well, suggest it down below. But on
I
another...
would happily be voice on your shoulder if you do.
That'd be fine. We already have one person that wanted me to, but yes. I kind of wanted to make my own faction in this game and then take over the world somehow. Or at least cut off a nice slice of it. I kind of want to write a story about that. I have some ideas for that in my head, but I've already told you bits about that. Anyway.
What do we do tonight, McWolf?
I know I did. Anyway, we're going to end this, and we'll see where it goes.
Who is Kenshi and how can I kill him? Let's start at the beginning. Kenshi, a game, a lifestyle, a world philosophy. In this
What the hell?
post-apocalyptic setting, you can be anything you want and people will still be racist towards you. Ever feel
So it
nostalgic
seems.
about slavery? You came to the right place. Because
Oh.
everything in this game is trying to either rob, cannibalize, or enslave you. Create a character. He's
Seems like
beautiful.
it.
Spawn into a local migrant camp. Attempt to befriend your neighbors. Uh-oh, they became violently offended by the number of teeth in your mouth, and they're going to rectify that with a lead pipe. It's a hard world, and I'm about to make it a lot harder, because we're going to try to defeat the strongest enemy in the game without consuming a single food item. And I'm going to double the hunger rate every 25 days.
Oh,
This will result
no.
in fatigue, questionable body aesthetics, and eventually an indefinite loss of consciousness.
That's
But if we
slightly
can work
resulting
around
in
these
questionable
factors,
body
we just
aesthetics.
might be able to pull this off. But
Yeah.
first, a word from our sponsor.
I will be honest, I'm not sure... Oh, he's sponsored by Honkai Star Rail. I played that game once, haven't streamed it once, played it once, haven't really gotten back into it at all. But on another note, well, gotcha JRPGs just really don't seem like they're for me. On another note besides that, I don't see how he can do this. I honestly have no idea how he's going to be able to pull this off at all. Reggie has a lot of strange ideas, but this is the thing where he has a ticking clock on himself. So,
Correct.
but he also has to be strong, which well, obviously fatigue probably causes debuffs, which will make it even harder, which means he has a set time limit of maybe 2 days in this game? We'll see how it goes.
Honkai Star Rail is a new space fantasy RPG
I do like
from the makers
some of the
of
designs
Genshin
in Honkai
Impact.
Star
With
Rail.
over 30 unique characters, 80
Like
million
that robot
downloads,
guy.
and several Best Game Awards, you can rest assured that you're in good hands. Personally, I like to play it and scream at the top of my lungs whenever an enemy kills me. I find it relaxing. Even better than that is the cross-platform nature of the game. It's available on PC,
cross-platform?
PS5, and mobile, with data syncing across each platform.
that's what he
Additionally,
means.
they've just added 2 new characters, Ruan Mei and Dr. Ratio. Dr. Ratio is interested in the
Oh, yeah.
dissemination of arcane knowledge,
He's apparently
and he's willing
extremely
to fight for his
smart.
beliefs, while Ruan Mei is an ice-type character that follows the path of harmony. Don't know what that means? That's because you're not playing enough Honkai Star Rail. Download it today with my link below, and if you use my redemption code, you'll get 50 Stellar Jade. Also, be sure to log in on January 17th to receive a free copy of Dr. Ratio, which you can try out on the new map Seclusion Zone. Thank you, Honkai Star Rail. Now back to the video. Alright, let's begin the challenge. I start as a hiver because they don't get very hungry and they have the best Rule 34.
What?
My name? Thud. We live in the hub, but not for long.
Thud.
In fact, we've got about 10 days until our organs shut down from malnutrition, and beating this challenge will be as logistically difficult as trying to teach a British man how to speak English. A bottle of water.
Bottle of water.
A bottle
A bottle
of water.
of water.
A bottle of water.
Bottle of water.
So let me explain the plan while doing some manual labor. We need to kill Catlon. He's tough, really tough. Thud definitely can't do it, and especially not in 10 days. But his great-great-great-great-great-great-grandson might be
What?
able to. The plan is to continually recruit a new party member every time my current character gets close to starving. If I time this properly, I will have created the longest-lasting relay race of all time, spanning dozens of generations, all with one singular goal: to kill this man. Hopefully, with each party member, we will slowly accumulate more money and weapons until we're finally in a position to challenge Cathlon. The only caveat is that most of these backward hicks aren't exactly sold on the idea of starving to death in the sand, so we're going to have to engage in a tasteful amount of kidnapping. Now, on the topic of kidnapping, the world government is lying to you. They want you to believe there's a high cost of entry, a white panel van with Genshin Impact decals, but they're wrong.
So he's basically making a conga line of people that he's all gonna have trained together, so when he dies, he'll have someone else to take over and eventually just build up to that point.
It reminds me about an old Tumblr post about an orangutan training successor.
What?
Well, a guy was asked to beat an orangutan in a fight. And he told, and he asked how long he had to prep, so he just decided to wait out its natural life. If only to find out the orangutan trained his successor in that time.
What?
And he indicated that he spent that time turning the people of the world against the concept of orangutans and leading orangutan genocide for the greater good. And this one pointed out that no one said the successor was an orangutan.
What?
So the entire thing just ends with him screaming, get back, all of you get back!
What? What the hell is that?
Tumblr.
All you really need is a rusty cage, so that's what we're fundraising for, and we're doing it the only way I know how, selling copper to crystal meth addicts. The pay isn't very good, but I'm not exactly a skilled laborer, so for the time being, I'll settle for slamming my forehead against this rock. Now, mining copper until you starve to death isn't as glamorous as it sounds. In fact, it's downright dangerous. On several occasions, I would be accosted by gangs of violent street urchins trying to steal my money. Based on their hunger bars, it looks like they're also attempting this challenge, and they're much further along than me. This cannot stand. I had them chase me into a nearby bar, at which point the staff beat them to death for having low social credit. Like it or not, I think the Chinese might be onto something. After selling a few dozen nuggets of ore, I was able to buy the materials to cobble together a shack, and inside, a research bench. It is here where we will discover the wonders of forcible confinement and Stockholm Syndrome. We just need to find imprisonment on the tech list. Let's see, where is it? Well, shit. Apparently, putting someone in a cage is Tier 3 technology, on par with advanced biofuel refining. What does that mean? Well, basically, we need to get 8 books, 16 building materials, build this, obtain 10 iron plates, build that, 10 more books, 8 iron plates, handful of copper, electricity is good, even more iron plates, upgrade this, research that, and this, and then we're done. It's just... it's a lot. To make matters even worse, I started the process of building a bigger house, which immediately triggered Prayer Day. If you're unfamiliar with what Prayer Day is, allow me to explain. Have you ever had a hug with an uncle that lasted a little too long?
Ooh, I'm gonna be all up in those feet. Oh, I'm gonna just be...
Why, Mark?
On each one of those tootsies.
Prayer Day is like that, but there's 20 of your uncles, and they'll beat you with hammers if you don't play along. Being a responsible human being, I opted to ignore this entirely and mine more copper. Some hunger was setting in by this point. It would bother a normal man, but all I know is the mines, the copper dust, the reverberations of my pickaxe. I had become comfortably numb to the experience. I watched a man being eaten alive by goats a mere 15 feet from me. Didn't even break my rhythm. A gang of bandits came to raid the base, only to find out it was a 90% unfinished foundation, so they just stood around awkwardly until the sun went down. Fortunately, by day 8, we managed to complete construction and upgrade our workbench. Around this time, something weird happened. Everyone at the bar I go to just kind of disappeared. I don't know why. Maybe they were kidnapped, or they just got tired of beating up the homeless on my behalf. Either way, they're gone. This represented a crossroads for me. Do I import the save and restore them back to existence, existence? Or do I steal everything inside and establish de facto ownership of the bar? Obviously, I
Alright, then.
didn't even think about this, and I just started stealing everything I could. We can't do anything with the food, but the iron plates will be helpful for building, and I spent the next
Alright.
2 days pawning everything else to a trader up the road. It's day 10, and I am currently constructing a fucking windmill in order to power my supercharged research bench so that I may hope to
Alright,
even
then.
begin to understand the subtle intricacies of putting someone in a cage.
What
This
the
has
hell?
taken far longer than I thought it would, and the old hunger bar has seen better days. Luckily, I was able to complete the research and build us our first official guest room. However, with 103 hunger left, we'll probably start
Good
passing out
lord.
any second now, so it's time to use our secret weapon, a remarkably insane man named Hobbs. Hobbs is a local alcoholic, and the
Alright.
only person desperate enough to join my faction for free. A lot of the time, he lives in a fishing village to the north, where he is eventually cannibalized by savages. However, we
Oh.
got lucky, and he spawned in the hub. I started speaking with Hobbs, and within 5 seconds of conversation, he grabbed me by both shoulders, looked me in the eyes, and told me that he needs to have sex with a banshee. At baseline, that was a pretty awkward conversation, but it only got worse because Thud kept blacking out and hitting his head on the furniture. Eventually, I manipulated Hobbs into joining my hunger strike, and the fate of the challenge now rests in the hands of a sexual deviant. Now this was good,
Oh,
but
boy.
Hobbs is a human, not a hiver, and he burns nutrition twice as fast, so we need to get a move on. We've got the cage, now we just need to start putting people in it. The most effective way to do this is to lure bandits into town, have the guards liberally distribute head trauma, and then, when the fight is over, find the bandit with the
Use your
least
head
brain
trauma
damage
this
and
week.
pick him up.
Oh my
But
God.
don't forget to heal them, because I made that mistake, and my guy's leg fell off like 30 seconds later. Yuck. After completing
Wow.
this process a few times,
Yeah.
we managed to capture 2 prospective recruits. The only issue with this is that my slave recruitment mod is in Russian, and I don't know
Oh.
what any of this means.
What the hell?
Occasionally, I'd find a few words that I understood, and
Idiot
after
cock.
several attempts, we finally managed to recruit 2 new party members, the Grim Cleaper and Rar. And I don't want to
What
get any
the
comments
hell?
about their physical appearance. This is what they actually look like in real life. In addition to conscripting
God.
these physically unfortunate drifters, Hobbs traveled to Squin to pick up a backpack. This will help us carry things without burning as much nutrition. Additionally, he also researched several helpful technologies by doing whatever the hell this is with his hands. And with that, it is now
Ugh.
time for us to make our holy pilgrimage to the promised land, Vane. Some people are mentally ill, and they like to punish themselves by driving nails through their testicles, but the truly deranged among us like to build bases in Vane. It's a lawless
Oh,
hellscape where it is
acid
always
rain.
white boy summer, because if you're not careful, an albino gorilla will
Oh,
crush your
God.
skull while you're mining copper, and if they don't get you, the carnivorous giraffes or pools of acid will. The
Good
only reason
lord.
we're here is this: hundreds of hivers just begging to be
Ah.
kidnapped. By migrating our operation here, we can reliably kidnap dozens of hivers rather than relying on random transients at the hub. And so we set out for
God.
Vane. My thought process in having 3 characters was that I could sacrifice 2 of them if I needed to, but through what I can only assume was a catastrophic glitch in the Matrix, not even one of us was brutally murdered during this trip. How relaxing. Arriving in
Wow.
Vane, we quickly settled outside of one of the hives. It's just a cage and a small shack, but what more does a man really need? Inside, I built a few training dummies. According to calculations that I just made up in my head, by training on this dummy for 36 hours, the average man will be able to successfully kidnap a hiver, about 50% of the time. Then I
50%.
can train those hivers to become kidnappers, and I'll have an indefinite supply of recruits. It's far
Oh.
from perfect, but it's pretty good. We actually got lucky with our first recruit, because while I was out shopping for materials, the hive was attacked by beak things, and several high-level guards were knocked out. Seeing my chance, I had Hobbs
Alright,
pick
take
one
the
up
gu-
and drag him into the wilderness. Anyway, with that taken
Yeah.
care of, I can now focus on the next step in our plan. Money.
You ever
You
been
see,
dragged
I have an
into the wilderness?
idea on how to beat this challenge, but it's going to cost around
no.
200, maybe
Not
300
fun.
I don't think anyone would want to experience that. Yeah. Anyway,
Some people might.
no. How about no? How about none of that? I don't
$100,000.
think
How
anyone
do you
wants to be
raise
dragged away.
$300,000 in a few days? Well,
Oh.
you might not like the answer. Mining. Lockheed Martin wants to purchase copper ore so they can build fighter jets and bomb third world countries. I
What?
do not have morals. Get 3 emaciated men
oh,
to
that's
mine
what you're on
copper
about.
around the clock. You'll know when to stop because
Okay.
they'll start blacking out and rolling down the hill. 50 copper, $6,000 in 19 hours. That was terrible. On to the next idea.
That's surprising.
Beak things. Horrible creatures that feed on suffering. However, in their nest, they lay dozens of gigantic eggs. Each one is
Oh.
worth $4,200. Assemble a team of the best thieves in the entire world. Realize that will take too long and instead settle
Just-
for 3 starving dickheads. Wait until nightfall. Team A sneaks around the back while Team B approaches the nest from the front. It's called Team B because these guys are the bait. Use them to wake up the
yeah.
beak things and lead them away. Team B is now having their internal organs ripped out while Team A covertly collects 16 eggs. Crash the economy by forcing small businesses to buy your overpriced
Oh
eggs.
my
Make
God.
$67,000 a day at the cost of 2 of your friends. Consider searching for jobs that
Been
involve
eaten.
less human sacrifice. Let's try headhunting. Traditional Chinese medicine uses fog prince heads as a remedy for impotence, and they'll pay a lot of money for them. Recruit a hive soldier. Name him
Alright.
something strong, intimidating, Polish.
I'm like,
Have him travel into the Fog Islands and pick a fight with the natives. He's winning.
Alright.
It's working. Oh, he's dead. Wait, no, he's back. Try again with help from the guards. Success. Decapitate your enemies and sell
Oh.
their body parts
Alright
to
then.
fortified traders. $6,000 and I got my ass kicked. Not worth it. To make matters even worse, it's now day 25, which means that our hunger rate has just doubled. Most
Oh,
races will
no.
now starve to death within a couple of days, and if they're doing manual labor, well, just don't even bother naming them. Right now, it's manageable, but the
Lord.
hunger doubles again on day 50, which will probably
Chad
make this
Skeleton.
entire challenge impossible, so we need to make even more money and faster. I sat down at the bar in Mongrel and reviewed our progress so far. It was at this point I realized I'm not making enough money because I'm not breaking enough laws. It's time
What?
to start ruining people's
Alright then.
lives. This man may look like a human, but don't be deceived by his appearance. He's actually Australian, which makes it morally acceptable for me to repossess his belongings. And even better than that, he's technically not a citizen of Mongrel, so the town guards
skeletons.
won't even try to stop me when I walk into his store, pause the game, steal every prosthetic limb he has, and quickly
Oh,
leave.
God.
Despite being Polish, Trupin is actually terrible at thievery, so this process took a while, but we made about $30,000 in the first haul. And then we came back the second time with a big burlap sack and cleaned him out for another $60,000. I was
Lord.
very excited by this, but I will admit it was kind of sad watching just how quickly he gave up on chasing me. Truly, I had crushed this man's soul. This was a good score, but that shop is now totally empty, and I believe the owner is about to acquaint himself with the business end of a noose, so it's
God.
time to find a new target. When it comes to prosthetic limbs, no one does it better than the skeletons, and they live all the way in Black Desert City. Trupin is pretty fast, and he had a lot of nutrition left, so I
Alright.
sent him on the long journey there. The trip there was largely uneventful. However, back at the base, Kleeper attempted his first kidnapping. He made it about 7 feet
Oh, he
before
named after
being
his friend.
beaten into the dirt, but
Oh,
on the next day,
goddamn.
we had some success. The Sons of Thud cannot be stopped. Anyway, Trupin made it to the Black
Sons of
Desert. A
Thud.
normal person would be slowly melting from the acidic environment, but Trupin, being a hideous bug man, is impervious. I found the prosthetic store and lockpicked a chest on the second floor. Here's the dilemma. If I steal all these limbs, the guards will attack me, and I'll be too heavy to escape. However, if I pick up the limbs, put them in my backpack, and hide the backpack, I can then run away and return for the bag later. Only one problem, I forgot my backpack at home. So
Oh,
instead,
God.
I'm going to use this dead guy I found on the road. I
Oh,
stuffed his
oh.
inventory full
Oh
of the
my
most expensive
God.
gear I could find, tucked him into bed, and made my escape while being chased by hordes of murderous robots. Returning 24 hours later,
Not
the
surprising.
store owner hurled some insults at me, but did nothing to stop me from going upstairs and retrieving the body. Ladies and gentlemen, we got him. This first haul netted
Oh
us
my-
about $40,000. However,
Whoa.
returning the next day
He's
with a
almost there.
gigantic
Well,
bag
halfway
allowed me
there.
to easily clear 100,000. Yes, Trupin was almost killed by androids, solar
Oh,
rays,
almost.
and
Well, now he's
random
more than
wildlife on
halfway.
several occasions, but I couldn't hear his cries for help from inside my soundproof Bugatti. Now, stealing
God.
was very profitable, but I decided to immerse myself even deeper in the criminal lifestyle. I began browsing the deep web to find guides on selling narcotics, which which was when I came across this arcane knowledge. Apparently, by purchasing hashish in the swamp, we can sell it with a 400% markup in Morn and Flats Lagoon. So I grabbed our 7th generation kidnapping victim, took him to the bar, hired some bodyguards, and we set out for the swamps. We made it there with no trouble, and I purchased 178 pounds of hashish from the local farmer. On the way to Morn, my bodyguards were devoured by flesh-eating insects, but that's what I'm paying them for, after all. Finally selling our product, we pulled in about $60,000. Not too bad at all. I'd like to say that doing all of this without any food has been an enlightening experience. You see, we're starving pretty fast out here, and there's a certain zen that one achieves when they realize they're on a one-way trip. For example, Troopin never made it back from Black Desert City. In fact, the hunger was hitting him so hard by the end that he had to crawl through the sand for 3 kilometers just to sell off his final haul. It's alright though. There's something liberating about accepting your fate. In fact, one can only imagine how much further we could all march if we were not forced to carry our fears on our backs. That's a cool quote. It's a shame it's from League of Legends. Anyway, back to work. We've got over $400,000, which we will be using to assemble an army. No, we're not kidnapping 250 hivers again. Instead, we're going to go to every bar, unemployment office, and safe injection site in the world and recruit God's cheapest and most resilient warriors, alcoholics. You see, just about every bar in Kenshi has shifty-eyed lunatics that call themselves mercenaries. They'll follow you around, and if you pay them, they'll even guard you. The best part? They don't get hungry. So I took our newest iteration of Thud and had him travel east, visiting every way station, bar, and city I could find, slowly accumulating a growing mass of mercenaries. All this traveling did accelerate Thud's decomposition, but I just replaced him every few days with a new character, and after 11 days we had journeyed through the border zone, into Venge, up to the Great Desert, west to World's End, and then south to Mongrel, recruiting an assortment of over 50 mercenaries. You're probably thinking that we're going to go fight Catlon, but you'd be wrong. In fact, my plan is a lot more convoluted, and it involves beating up the elderly in their sleep. More on that later. For now, we're going right here. A seemingly dilapidated tower swarming with carnivorous insects, but inside is our prize, the Bugmaster. Who is the Bugmaster? To put it simply,
he's a fucking powerhouse gorilla rapist beast animal. A lightning rod, muscle man, power ass jailhouse killer. They call him the power mongoloid.
I guess he just has a bunch of bugs with him.
Laser brain, dick bastard of comedies. He is an absolute sex pot, just slut, cum pig, power bastard.
Oh my god.
Basically, he's really powerful, so we're going to invite ourselves inside his house, kick the living shit out of him, drag him into a nearby cage, and explain to him why it would be a good idea to join our team. With his help, I think we've got a shot at killing Catlon, but first, we need to get to him. This involved a 2-day journey through hell. My squad entered the Spider Plains, where we had to battle massive hordes of insects every 5 minutes. It's around this point in your journey, when you're watching a grown man being eaten alive, where you'll start to appreciate the luxury of being able to let other people deal with your problems. Eventually, we worked our way to the Bugmaster's tower, and my mercenaries wasted no time in performing a home invasion. Several skin spiders sallied out to stop us, but they were outnumbered, and before long, we had breached the main lobby, where the Bugmaster was waiting to tear us apart. Combat started with my mercenaries encircling him as if they were about to enact a gang initiation. However, their plan went sideways when he produced a meat cleaver and started cutting people in half. He's quite strong, but we have 2 major advantages. 1, there's a lot of us, and 2, he has shown up to a knife fight almost entirely naked, which means that at some point he's going to realize he has been shot 17 times with a crossbow, and that there's more of his blood on the ground than inside his own body, at which point he will pass out. And right on time, he does. The Bugmaster is now ours. I picked him up and scurried away to a nearby cage, where I recruited him into our party. With combat stats of 95 across the board, he will be our ultimate warrior. But as we just discovered, his strategy of deflecting projectiles with his skin did not go over very well. So we're going to take our extra money and buy him some equipment. After a brief period of running at the speed of sound, we had arrived at the Armor King. He's a cute little robot that sells amazing equipment. I dropped about $100,000 on this armor, which, combined with our stats, should make us close to invincible. However, the hunger clock is still ticking, so we need to keep moving. Lord Phoenix, the leader of the Holy Nation, one of Kenshi's strongest warriors, and also a giant dick, which is why we're going to use him as a pawn in the next part of our plan. But first, I need to kidnap him. I traveled to Blister Hill and waltzed right into...
He leads the Holy...
yeah, no, he leads the racists.
Oh.
They feel that if you're not perfectly human, you deserve to be subjugated at best.
Oh, alright then. So, I learn something new about this game every time I watch a video about it.
Did you think
the
there wouldn't
Phoenix's
be
throne
racists?
room, where I sat down
I
and
just didn't
engaged
think
in the
the giant Holy
exceptionally
Nation
creepy
would be that
activity
about it.
of waiting for him to fall asleep. Once that happened, Thud darted across the room and accessed Phoenix's inventory. Our kidnapping skill isn't high enough to pick him up, but we can strip him naked, wake him up, and then beat him back into unconsciousness, at which point we can grab him and run away. Unfortunately, he must have been wearing his full-body chastity belt, because it took me about 60 attempts to get his clothes off, at which point he woke up, somewhat confused, before Thud slammed a sword into the side of his head, knocking him out cold. After grabbing Phoenix, I ran into the wilderness on all fours and started making my way to Catlon. Alright, we're here. The Ashlands, home of Catlon, hordes of murder robots, and also Thud. Because I've made a little cabin here where I'm waiting things out. Remember that time we tore an old man's clothes off and attacked him viciously? Yeah, well, he developed intracranial hypertension and died shortly after, which made the Holy Nation very, very, very upset with us.
Not surprising.
In fact, they're sending a delegation of fine young men to come kill me at this exact moment. Under normal circumstances, this would be not so great. However,
of God. Wait, what did that say? Is that an actual status effect in this game?
in fact, they're sending a delegation of fine young men to come kill me at this exact moment. Under normal circumstances, this would be not so great. However, it's part of the plan, because when
two group names and you can tell which one's Reggie.
Yeah.
Those 60 Crusaders arrive, I'm going to lead them straight to Catlon, who also happens to have 100 of his own bodyguards. And with the Holy Nation hating robots and
I knew what he was
having
gonna do.
antisocial personality disorder, I'm hoping they'll wipe each other out. Thud hibernated in his
not a bad
shack for a
plan.
few days to save on hunger, and before we knew it, the wrath of God was upon us. I had them chase me a few hundred feet through the snow before making it into this rusted-out dome. Dozens of religious zealots poured into the building, only to be greeted by 100 headless robots. Fighting broke out instantly on the spiral staircase, with bodies rolling down every few seconds. This was pretty cool, but instead of sticking around, I decided to head to the next dome to find Catlon all by himself. I was in a bit of a rush, so instead of letting him finish his speech, I just ran up and punched him in the head.
Then you can just have them lobotomize the rest.
I guess, but they're still moving, so I guess they're not dead. Truly. It's hard to me imagine them still moving without a head or something covering them. Anyway.
Watching this combat unfold, you can immediately detect a massive speed difference between Thud and Catlon. That's what not eating for 7 days does to you. Occasionally, we'd get a good hit in, but Catlon's armor is very strong, so this isn't going to be a quick fight. To make matters even worse, every few minutes, survivors from the other battle would wander into the dome and start attacking us. Usually, it was robots, and I'd have to kill them, but occasionally, a wave of Holy Nation survivors would show up and start going absolutely spastic, attacking both Catlon and myself. Honestly, it was a pretty confusing situation.
This is
the
pure
only thing
chaos.
I knew for sure was that I was getting my ass
what
kicked.
war looks
However,
like
slowly,
in this crazy
very
world.
slowly, we managed to accumulate more and more damage on Catlon. I was knocked out several times in the process, but after about 15 minutes of fighting, I got lucky and landed a shot on Catlon's chest that put him out cold. With Thud on the brink of death from blood loss, starvation, and hypothermia, I had him grab Catlon, escape the dome, and claim his victory. With Catlon now mechanically separated, I'm considering the challenge complete. So what do I think about playing Kenshi without food? Honestly, I can't recommend it. But if you are clinically insane and need to express your psychopathic urges in a way that won't get you institutionalized, it's a pretty good option. Anyway, that's it for this challenge. I'd like to thank my patrons for supporting these videos, and finally thank you for watching.
But yeah, besides that, Reggie's insane for starting this challenge to begin with, but I'm Not surprised he won it at the very end. Well, actually, I am a bit surprised because he had to use a bit of craziness in order to, well, win. He basically had to use a diversionary tactic in order to get some allies on his side in order for him to win. Either way, on that note, I gotta ask, what do you guys think of the reactions? Do you guys like us doing these reactions to Reggie? Well, apparently you guys kinda do, because you're giving me a lot of views. But either way, I like reacting to Reggie even though he gets a little weird at start to finish. I don't mind either way, he makes me laugh a little bit. And it is fun to see how exactly he is going to beat some of these crazier challenges. Even with his mods, some of these games can just tear into you that he plays. But, on that note, thank you all so much. If you want us to do more, if you want us to watch the rest of the videos, if you want, I don't know, meant to do a backflip, like, comment, subscribe.
I will die if I do a backflip.
Make him do a backflip. Anyway.
Why?
Like, comment, subscribe, and what else was I gonna say? Oh yeah, check out the Patreon if you want us to react to more Transformers stuff. I don't know why I'm putting this here, but you know, why not? Anyway, there guys. Take care of yourselves.